sovereign ability to talk to our troops wherever they might be in the world.
And this, had it gone ahead, would have been Australia's biggest ever space project?
That's right. It would have given Australia's Defence Force Space Command its own satellites. It would have upscaled their ability to operate space, to monitor space. It would have made us a more resilient Defence Force because we would have had assets in the space domain, which is becoming increasingly critical for military conflict and security. So the decision to abandon all of that is quite surprising and quite confusing.
Can you understand it in a time of cost of living pressures and an election coming up for the government?
Well, this is like not paying the insurance on the house so that you can afford the groceries. It's a short-sighted decision. We know, and the government has told us repeatedly, that we need to have a strong and secure defence force because of the region we're living in and because of the uncertainties of the strategic and defence environment. But when it comes to putting the money down to pay for that capability, we're seeing time and time again that the money is being pulled back, and in some cases we're outsourcing funding and capability to allies like the United States.
What does it mean for business confidence in the Australian Defence Force and other government agencies if a contract like this is cancelled?
Well, there were 4 companies that bid for this contract. They would have spent a minimum of $20 million each to get their bid prepared and submit it. Lockheed Martin, the company that's been working to develop this project, would have spent perhaps as much as $100 million on this project already. So it really puts the Australian Defence Force as an unreliable customer. And remember, we're in a competitive environment. We can't guarantee that we'll be able to buy the military technology that we need to safeguard Australia. So why would you prioritise the Australian Defence Force as a customer if it's making decisions like this and reneging on major contracts?
What about the argument that, in a global sense, Australia is small as a military power? Isn't it better to work with our allies such as the United States and use their systems rather than building our own?
Well, Australia works with its allies, but if you want to have sovereign integrity, if you want to be able to make your own political decisions to utilise military force to protect your national interests, having a satellite communications network is critical to that. If we don't own that communications network, we can't guarantee that it will be there in a time of need. And so of all the things that you might be prepared to outsource to an ally, communications is not one of them.
It's James Brown there, former CEO of the Space Industry Association. Flood-affected residents in Spain have hurled mud and insults at their leaders during a royal visit. The King and Queen of Spain and other senior officials were met with anger when they arrived in one of the worst-hit towns in the Valencia region. At least 200 people have died in the floods and many more are still missing. Kathleen Ferguson prepared this report.
In a tense reception for King Felipe and other leaders, Pai Porta locals expressed their frustration. They chant insults, calling the monarch and Spain's senior politicians murderers and assassins, and throw mud. This local resident accuses authorities of bungling the disaster response. I feel a lot of anger. I'm not just sad anymore, I'm livid. It's been 5 days and everything stayed the same. The situation is not improving. My house is, but the streets are left empty. We don't deserve this. Nobody does. This Pai Porta man says a royal visit isn't a priority.
I like that the king comes to visit, but I don't like them stopping traffic for him to come here. We need machines and cars to clean everything. We can't stop everything for a visit. We don't have enough manpower. Once it dries here, diseases and pest animals will come.
Authorities in Spain have been criticised for not warning residents fast enough when the floods hit. More than 200 people have died after a year's worth of rain fell in about 8 hours last week, and more remain missing. It's Europe's worst flood-related disaster in decades. Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez says the emergency response is ongoing.
The main objective is to save lives, to recover the bodies of the people who may have died as a result of this natural tragedy, and finally to work towards the task of rebuilding the province of Valencia and all of the areas that may have been damaged by this terrible disaster, not only in the Valencian community, but also in other parts of Spain that might be affected by this storm.
The government has also deployed an extra 10,000 troops and police to help with recovery efforts. Benaib Mari Vuata lives in Picanya, another flood-affected town near Pai Porta. He says the extra assistance is desperately needed.
Yeah, of course we're happy, but it's late. I mean, we needed the help since the first day, and it is arriving, but it is arriving late, and we need more resources. I mean, you can't imagine how it is. You have to be here to be able to imagine how everything is destroyed, everything.
He says the region is struggling.
6:30, so when we were receiving the warning, we were already, everything was already drowned. And more than 10 towns have suffered the flood, and we are all suffering a lot, and we are not receiving the help we need to just remove all the trash and the cars and get our town as it was.
King Felipe has spoken publicly since being heckled by crowds in Pipewater. In a video released on social media, he says he understands their anger and frustration.
That's Kathleen Ferguson. We all know that exercise is essential for a healthy life, but could it be the secret to a long and healthy marriage? A couple on the Gold Coast is living proof that it may be the case, preparing for the Pan-Pacific Masters Games while also celebrating 60 years of marriage. As Lexi Junewick reports, David and Joya Berry both already have world records to their name.
For some people, retirement can be a chance to sit back and relax. But for David and Joya Berry on the Gold Coast, that's not part of the plan.
We both turned 81 this year.
The couple, who have been married for 60 years, say their proof age is just a number. The former competitive bodybuilders are preparing to compete in the Pan-Pacific Masters Games, being held in their hometown this week. Every 2 years, thousands of older athletes from around the world come together to compete in dozens of sporting events. David and Joya will be competing in indoor rowing, an event they already hold world records for.
I've still got the Australian and world record for 100 metres of 17.9, but I think I can do better than that.
I prefer the erg, the ski erg, than the rower, and I've got a world record in the ski erg, so I'm quite proud of that.
It's a standard they maintain with a busy training schedule.
Normal day for training, I do 3 days a week swimming, and the other 3 days weights. I used to do yoga and Pilates, but I can't fit that in anymore because I'm trying to train for the Pan-Pac Games. I'm going to do the 500 and the 1 minute.
I swim a kilometre 3 times a week, do the gym 3 times a week as well, do a split body routine, chest and triceps on a Monday, back and biceps on Wednesdays, and we do legs and arms as well, shoulders on Fridays. So that keeps us pretty busy.
The Berry's passion for fitness was discovered later in life, in their late 30s in fact, and after being married with children. Geriatrician Mark Yates says it's never too late to adopt healthy habits for the sake of a longer, happier life.
We know that loneliness, for instance, can contribute to depression, which also contributes to poor aging well, and also dementia. So we want people to not only be physically well, particularly in later life, but also to take that physical exercise in a way that engages socially and also cognitively. In other words, is a new challenge. So often physical activity can be something we've been doing through all the midlife, but maybe taking up a new sport like golf or even royal tennis, which is what I play, or real tennis, which is both a social, a cognitive and a physical activity.
Dr. Yates stresses that a weekly exercise routine doesn't necessarily need to involve breaking records either.
The work that's been done in the area of dementia, at least, is that physical inactivity can contribute to about 2% of the risk of dementia, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it is if you can do something about it. And the national guidelines on exercise is that we should all be taking or having 150 minutes of physical activity each week, which is not insignificant. It's 30 minutes 5 times a week, to the point where we're breathless.
David and Joya say it's the key to their success in marriage and in the sporting arena, something they hope they can pass on.
Yeah, we've got 3 sons, 4 grandchildren and 3 great-grandchildren. I think they're proud.
That's Joy Berry there, ending that report from Lexi Junior Week and Chloe Maxwell. And that is all from the World Today team for this Monday. Thanks for your company. Join us again same time tomorrow. I'm Sally Sarah. Take care.
Hello, Ali Moore here. Join me on Drive this afternoon from 3:30 in the local government election. Hi Greg, have you voted?
Only just because I was heading out the door and heard this and went, oh my God, I'm pretty in touch with politics, but it just rolled up so late, and if I didn't listen to ABC, I wouldn't have even known what that letter was. I just would have thought it was some other notice and perhaps not even opened it.
If it's happening in Melbourne, we're talking about it on Drive this afternoon on 774 ABC Radio Melbourne.
Live across Melbourne.
On the ABC Listen app,
Your smart speaker.
and on 774 AM.
This is ABC Radio Melbourne.
Nobody knows Melbourne like we do.
In your street, your suburb. Now we're talking.
ABC Radio Melbourne with Trevor Chappell.
Good afternoon, everyone. 29 minutes to 1 o'clock. Looking forward to you joining us on the program with everything that we talk about. Congratulations if your team had a win, no matter where it is. The public picnic tables in Carnegie are covered with bird poo and swarms of birds eating the scraps from people's discarded food. It's become such an issue, local residents are calling on their council to crack down on the feral bird feeding. So we wanted to ask you this afternoon, if birds are a problem where you live, could be in food courts, sparrows in food courts. Doesn't it get you? I reckon that'd get you just as much as pigeons would it. Anyway, that's just a personal thing. As well as that, perhaps you get your chips stolen by seagulls. So if you have an issue with birds nicking your food, where does it happen? Why does it happen? 1300 222 774. When have they stolen food from you or around you? Perhaps it is a seagull. Tell us about that situation as well. And the start of the Men's International Summer of Cricket kicks off this afternoon. We're going to take a look at the history of one-day international cricket and why it isn't anywhere near as popular as it used to be. So if you've got any stories about highlights from one-day international cricket that you've loved, both on the field, but more significantly in the crowds as well. What's it like and what was it like being in the crowds for one-day international cricket? 1300 222 774. Before we do anything though, we should find out what's happening in traffic with Caroline Ferguson.
ABC Radio Melbourne. Traffic.
Thanks, Trevor. All the freeways are faring very well. If you're about to venture out on our arterials and freeways, there are clear drives. But don't forget about the inbound exit from the Westgate Freeway to Williamstown Road being closed until Sunday the 17th. That's where the Westgate Tunnel project works, which includes the construction of a new cycling and walking path. Just give yourself an extra 15 minutes for the detours, which are using Millers Road, Geelong Road or Black Shores Road. If you happen to miss the early exit at Millers Road, you'll need to continue over the Westgate Bridge. Then you can do a U-turn using Todd Road and return back over the bridge to Williamstown Road. Also, cricket returns to the MCG today with Australia playing Pakistan. Expect extra traffic along Punt Road, Olympic Boulevard, Swan Street and surrounding roads. Extra trains will be running tonight to help get you home, so use public transport where possible. And Richmond and Jolimont stations are just a short stroll from the ground. There's also Route 70 and 70A5 trams stopping nearby, with Routes 246 buses also available to put to you. And yeah, getting a train right now out towards Sandringham, there are delays of up to 10 minutes and clearing after an earlier track fault in the Richmond area. That's the latest in traffic and transport. It's 27 to 1.
This is ABC Radio Melbourne with Trevor Chappell.
So if you've got problems with pigeons and excrement around where you're wanting to eat, 1300 222 774. And even more so, have you been trying to eat something and you've had it taken by a bird that they're that precocious that will even bother to come up and take things out of your hands? Could be seagulls, could be kookaburras, could be magpies. 1300 222 774. Altercations you've had with birds while you're trying to eat. Give us a ring and tell us about it. As well as that, this afternoon, the joys of one-day international cricket. Did you used to like going to the one-day internationals? Did you make sure that you always watch those games on the telly or listen to it on the radio? But perhaps the lustre has actually gone off those games a bit. So tell us about your experiences. 1300 222 774. Musically this afternoon as we go 1 versus 1.